Okay, now this video is going to look at one of the sort of basic things that is expected within higher admin, especially higher admin working with access. At National 5, we're used to working with one table on its own. At higher, you're expected to work with most likely 3. I can't imagine it being any more. When you open a file, in any file in Access, I want you to always click on this drop down here if you have the latest version of Access and view all objects. That will become more important a bit later on, but that way you're sure you're always working with everything that's visible. What we're going to do here is something called creating relationships. So in the past, you would have used one database and created reports, queries and forms. In this version, at this level, we're going to do the same things: memos, queries, reports and forms, but we're going to take data from 2, possibly 3 tables. So rather than working with one table at a time, we're going to work with 3 tables altogether. Now what we have to do in this case is something called creating relationships, trying to make a link between the 3 tables. So this involves setting off primary keys, foreign keys and establishing relationships. What I always recommend you do is to look at all 3 tables. Very important. You open them up and you have a look at them to see what kind of data they contain. So we've got one called course applied for, where you've got employee number, course code, course granted. Let's look at our courses table. Just brings up course code and the name of the course. And let's also look at staff. So the staff table, we've got employee number, job title, surname. So lots of information. There's lots of information in all of those different tables. And what we have to think about, what we want to look for, is some kind of information that is unique. Something that helps each record stand out. Something that helps to promote it being a bit individual. Now in that case, you've got to really think hard about each record and think about what here makes it stand out, what makes it different, what makes it something that no one else can have. And in this case, what we've got to think about is, well, in the courses title one, so in the courses one, course code is individual. Every course has its own code. So that is something that stands out. Employee number. Every employee has their own number. Every employee is an individual and they have their own employee number. And in the table in the middle, in the courses applied for table, it has links to all of them. It has employee number and course code. Now, what I want to do now is to show you a query without relationships, then show you one with and try and identify the differences that it makes. So let's close down these tables. If you made any little changes to the layout, probably best to save them. So in this version of Access, to create a query, you click on Create, and then we want to go to, in this instance, we'll go to Query Design. Now you may not have seen this before, and it brings you up the option to add tables. We want to add all 3 tables one by one. So that lets you bring in fields from each area. So we've got our course applied for table, our courses table, and then we'll have our staff table. So let's see, let's just try and move them around a little bit, try and improve our logic of what we're looking at. So let's put in some details to try and work out, staff and courses. So let's put in forename from the staff table. We'll also put in surname from the staff table. And then let's add courses title from the courses table. And then let's add course granted in the courses applied for table. Now, when we run this, it will give us a list of staff member, the course title, and the course code, but it won't have relationships, so it'll be a little bit jumbled up, just to show you how relationships make things a bit more straightforward. So you run. Your run, regardless of your version of Access, your run is this red exclamation mark. And we've got way too many details here. Everyone has just replicated itself. Now, if something like this happens, you know something's gone a little bit wrong. So that is quite clearly not correct. Now what we're going to do here now is to do the query properly. We're going to establish some relationships and take you through the query again. So let's dispose of that. What we're going to do next is to establish our primary key and our foreign key. Now, if you remember, the two things that stand out in this case are course code and employee number. So what we're going to do is to establish our first course code, so our first primary key, which is course code. To do this, you open up table, you click on view, then go to design view, and then by course code, make sure you've got on course code, you click on the option for primary key, and you'll be switched on because you see a little key appear by course code. Let's close that down and save it. And the next one, in our staff table, is employee number. So let's go to design view and employee number and switch on our primary key. Again, close it down, make sure you've saved it, and it will have saved your primary key and your foreign key. Remember, the keys are something that unique, something that stands out. Now, the next part is establishing and creating relationships. So what you do is you click on create, and then we're going to click on relationships. Not create, my mistake. Click on database tools, and then you want to click on relationships. The one that maybe looks a little bit like an organization chart. Click on relationships, and there'll be nothing here because we haven't added any tables yet. So click on show table, then stick in courses applied for, courses, and staff. And close. Now what you'll have here will be 3 tables, 2 with primary keys on them, and 1 that has nothing at all. But that will be our linking list, so nothing to panic about there. Now what we do here is to make links. So you'll click on course code, hold down with the left hand mouse button and drag over to course code. And this gives us course code to course code. And you want to enforce referential integrity. And then click create. And that gives us our one-to-many relationship. And then you want to drag an employee number over to employee number, enforce referential integrity, and click on create. You may be wondering what referential integrity is. Oh, it's essentially a set of rules that prevent you from changing or deleting information in records that are linked to other databases and tables. So it stops you making a bit of a mess, really, and it establishes the relationships in every other database. So it makes a link for one course code for many courses. So every course has its individual code, and although there are many employees, every employee has that one number. So it establishes links that are either one to many in this case. So every individual course has its own course code, and so on and so on. Now we've established our relationships. What we're going to do next is to create our query again, and then we're going to print it off, run it with our new relationships. We should get entirely different devices, answers. We'll save, and let's go into create, go to query wizard, not query wizard, sorry, query design this time. We'll add our 3 tables, one by one, and you'll see that we have got our relationships still intact. So all three tables are linked together with our one-to-many relationships. Now, just to explain in a bit more detail what that one-to-many means. Well, one-to-many, explaining it in the best way possible, there's one employee with each individual employee number. But in this case, each staff could have applied for many courses. So one employee number, but there's a possibility that they could have applied for many different things. For a relationship of one-to-many, in these courses, each course has a unique code for each course, but there's many staff members, so it is a difficult concept. I've maybe not explained it at all well there, to be honest, but I'll go through it again in the next couple of videos, and I'll hopefully explain it to you. So the same information we had before from each table. Well, that should be course code, that should be courses granted. And from our courses table, so we have our criteria for our fields in, and in this case the search criteria is to make sure, yes, we only want to see the courses that are granted. So that's all we're looking for. That is your search criteria. So we want to know if these courses have been granted. And then we'll run our query. And your relationships should really streamline your results. If this pops up, try typing in a 0 and see what happens. When you've run your query, because of our relationships, we just slimmed down to 7 records rather than the 600 we have had before. So relationships make it easier to identify and create queries really when you're working with multiple variables and multiple sheets. The whole point in the referential integrity, I apologise if I confused you before, it's all about keeping relationships constant when you're working with primary keys and foreign keys, making sure rows are not overworked or ignored. I hope this has been a good introduction to establishing relationships and a bit of a refresh for query. Anything else you want to go over, anything you'd like to see, please leave a comment, and please like.